Hi, Pat the Podcast Editor here. They say every day's a school day, and a man who thinks he knows everything knows nothing. Well, in today's episode, Dan and Lloyd talks about how it's perfectly normal to not know all the answers, but to always strive to seek them. Let's take a look.
I think a really actionable thing that listeners can do, and I want to make sure I do this more, is when you do have that question that you don't know, or that situation where you're like, oh, I don't really know this, acknowledge it, but then actually take an action step to learn how to do it. So that you're not then in that situation again. I think it's a really small step, but whenever I don't know something, I always try and Google it and be like, oh, what does that mean? And then you're like, oh, it means that thing. Here's how you do it.
I think that means the next time you're in that same room or that same conversation, you'll feel less like an imposter. You will feel like an imposter when you step up to the bigger room or the higher paid role, and that's going to happen at first. But if you, like you said, if you take action to learn the things that you didn't feel comfortable with, you'll, in that same situation next time, you'll feel better. Hopefully.
A real life example of this, for me, pitching and sales, when starting out, and I'd never pitched to a customer, those first, and still today, those first few pitches, they ask questions, they have objections. You're saying you're going to get me 60 things, prove it, or like, how do I trust you? And having those questions and not having an answer and feeling rubbish. Then the next time I was like, oh, if they ask for like examples or this or that, I then prepared for that. And over time,
I'm going to make sure I have what I need and I have the answers.
Yeah. And it's the same with, that's like my kind of sales thing, but it's the same with your role, listeners. Whatever you're doing, always try and find the answers to those things that you felt a bit rubbish about, so that then you're constantly improving and working towards that.
So there you have it. Always stay hungry for knowledge and never feel stupid if you don't know all the answers. To hear the full episode, jump back to Business Anchors podcast number 65, and we'll see you next week for another Knowlton Nugget.